go check. Remember what you're supposed to do if you need permission. So let's stand up. Raise your hand. This is one morning for it. Alright, but this page is 8 to 10. Remember, the assignment needs to be a little bit lower, but it's alright. You're still learning for it. Remember, you're going to have to review it if it looks like it's on Friday. Remember, it's going to one down.
And then that goes down to this.
So you'll have one blank line, so you're going to have to shift everything down, just one line. So you put this down here, and then you do a blank line, so your questions will start here. So those are good complete sentences. Perfect. That's perfect. Good job. Alright, let's go over it. What is an environment found on land called? Not.
Environments on land are called terrestrial.
Good job with that complete sentence. And then number 3, give a term for an organism's home in an environment. Alright, first off, what's an organism? I know this isn't part of your homework, but what is an organism first off? Jaden.
Life. Like a life thing.
Okay, a living
Life,
thing.
yeah.
Yes, living thing. Alright, and then Evie, what was your answer for it? So what do you call an environment, give the term for an organism's home in an environment.
Habitat.
Good job. What's your complete sentence, just to check?
A habitat is an organism's home and environment.
Perfect. And then number 4, what time of day is best for observing a nocturnal animal? This is kind of a trick question. Alright, Glenn?
Why is this numbers coming at night?
Why?
Because their eyes.
Because their eyes?
Yes.
Okay, you're right that their eyes typically are special, but why is it best to observe a nocturnal animal at night?
That's cool.
Okay, Kaden.
Because nocturnal animals come out at night to hunt.
Yeah, so you're right that typically their eyes are designed better so that way they can see in the dark more easily than we can, because we are not designed to be nocturnal. We're designed to be diurnal. We'll talk more about that. Alright, you can go ahead and put away your homework, and you can have your textbook out of your desk, but keep it closed. So go ahead and get out a piece of paper so that way you can write down terms and definitions. We have enough terms and definitions to start playing review games. We're going to start off today with playing a version of the popcorn game. How many of you have played the popcorn game before? Alright, a couple of you. Alright, so what I do is, instead of having everyone double them down first thing in the morning, because it's first thing in the morning and everyone's still kind of waking up, that instead of standing up, what you're going to do is you're going to keep your palm on your desk. And I'm going to say the question, and then I'm going to say go. Once I say go, it's the first person to get their hand off their desk to raise it. That's the person that is standing up first. And then you get a chance to answer. Everyone keeps track of your own points though, so no lying. If you tell me that you got 50 questions right, I know that something's wrong. Okay, so make sure that you're keeping being honest, you're keeping track of your own point scores. If you get it wrong, I'll try to get the next person that raised their hand. Remember, it's my eyes. I judge. So don't tell me, well, I was next. No. My eyes. Alright, so everyone's palm should be on your desk. Alright, so thinking back over it, what is one of the purposes of science? There are technically 3 of them. We went over a bunch of them on Monday and went over part of them yesterday, but there's technically 3 purposes. Remember, I gotta say go.
Oh.
This guy don't want tricks like that. Go. Okay, Glenn got it.
Study living things.
Alright, okay, yeah, that's part of it, but what's the purpose of it?
They study how things live.
Not quite. More specific than that. Alright,
They
Jason.
study God's creation.
Okay, what's the reason? Why do we study it? That's what I mean by purpose. Why do we study science? Why do we study creation?
To know why God made it, and I don't know.
Kind of around it. Alright, Hayden?
To study how animals and man live together.
You're kind of all around it, but not quite. Scott?
So it's covered God's creation.
Okay, I'll say that one's close enough. But the three reasons are that it is to carefully observe nature or study it, to discover the laws of creation, and also to glorify God and for man's benefit. So technically there's 4 of them, but there are 3 listed in your book, so make sure that you note them as well. Alright, what do we call the study of living things? living things. Go. That was good.
Biology.
Biology, so that's 1 point. What do you call living things? Go. That was Lana.
Organism.
Organisms. What do you call a scientist that studies biology? Go. Trying to watch everybody at once. Alright, Hayden.
Biologist.
A biologist. What do you call, let's see, if you're thinking about biology, what do you call the branch specifically that studies plants?
Oh.
Trying to watch everyone. Go. Okay, I think that was on.
Botany.
Botany. What do you call the branch that studies animals? Go. I think that was cheating, Danielle. I think you were raising your hand before I said go. Alright, David.
Zoology.
Zoology. Alright, what do you call the branch of biology that studies itty bitty life that's too small for us to see with our natural eyes? Go. Okay, that's Scott. Microbiology. Alright, what do you call the study of organisms interacting with their surroundings and each other, so living together? What do we call that branch of biology? Go.
Ecology.
Ecology. What is the study of an organism's shape and structure? So like you're studying just the parts of your arm. What do we call that? Go. Right? What was it?
Anatomy.
Yep, anatomy. It is kind of a mouthful. Alright, what do you call the study of how an organism's structure functions? So how it moves. Go. Yeah, Scott. Physiology. Alright, what do you call the smallest unit of living things? It's as small as we can get and still be alive. Go. Okay, that was Glenn. So, what do you call an organism that consists of a single cell and that's as large as it is? It's made up of one single cell that performs all of the organism's functions. This one's kind of hard to explain without giving it away. Go. Alright? Unicellular organism. What do you call an organism that contains many different types of cells all together? So many cells. Go. Just gotta be faster, Evie. You're getting them, but you just gotta be faster than that. Alright, Jaden.
System.
So it's a
Organs.
whole organism made up of many cells.
Body. System. Organs. What?
You're like all around it. So if it's not a unicellular organism, if it's made up of many cells,
Oh. Multicellular organism.
yes, that's it. Multicellular organism. So yeah, I know we broke down into body and tissue and stuff yesterday, but yeah, so if it's just an organism that's made up of many cells, multicellular organism. Alright, what do you call a group of cells that are arranged into a common purpose all together? Not your organs yet. What do you call that level that's right above your individual cells? So like your muscles are made up of this. Go. That's Scott. Tissue. And then you can have several different tissues that make up what's the next major function in your body. Go.
Organs.
Organ. And then organs make up what? Remember we talked about this yesterday, how you have 11 of these in your body as a human. Go. Okay, even did you got it? You finally got it. Systems. And then your systems will make up your body. Alright, what do you call that stable internal environment? That you have to have, like your body needs to be a certain temperature on the inside. So what do you call it whenever your body's trying to maintain that stable internal environment? It's a long word. Go. Ooh, okay.
Homeostasis.
Good job. Homeostasis. So if you didn't move because you're thinking, I don't know, you should write it down. It'll help you to study tonight. Particularly since it's Wednesday, since you don't have homework, you should use your time to study. To be able to work on these terms so you will know for later. Yes.
How do you say?
Homeostasis. It's on page 4 if you just want to try to write it as best you can and then just write 4 next to it so you can go check it in your book later.
What's the term?
Homeostasis.
No, not the answer, the question.
Now, look it up. Just write down homeostasis and then that'll make a note for yourself later to think of, okay, homeostasis, I need to go look it up. So it'll help you study. Alright, what do you call the sum of all the chemical processes of life? This is another long term we talked about yesterday. Go. Alright, Hayden.
Metabolism.
Good job, metabolism. So if you didn't know it, write it down. The sum of all the chemical processes of life. This means your body breaking down food. This means your body getting oxygen, removing waste, all of it, all together. Metabolism. Alright, what do we call the substances in food that provide an organism with energy? This is why you eat. What are you trying to get? Yes, but what do you call the stuff that gives you energy? You haven't said go yet. Go. I think Glenn was ready.
Wait, no.
Okay, you're getting really specific that yes, carbohydrates is a type of what? But you are right that yes, carbohydrates. But which one? But like it's a type of what? I'm sorry. But yes, you are right that carbohydrates is a type of it. I think Lana was next.
I was just gonna, I don't know. I was just gonna guess cow.
Okay, you're right that you do get calories, but what do you eat to get calories, or what do we call it specifically?
Vegetables.
No.
Vitamins? Okay, I think Danielle was next, and then Scott.
Nutrients?
Nutrients.
Wow.
So nutrients. So you're right. Yes, you get your point.
Yeah.
Alright. It's alright. So substances that provide an organism with energy, the general name, nutrients. But you're right that carbohydrates is a type of nutrient. And yes, you can eat vegetables to get nutrients as well. And yes, you'll get calories too. But nutrients is the term you want to know for it. Alright, what is the fancy word for eating we talked about yesterday? Special word for it that scientists use. Go. Kathy goes on. Ingesting is right. Ingesting. So that's the fancy word for eating. What is the process? You got a question, Jaden? What is the special process that plants use to make their own food? Because remember, most plants don't go out and eat other things. Some of them do, like the Venus flytrap, but most of them make their own food. So what do we call that process? It's really funny how like ready y'all look. Go. Kathy, go Scott. Photosynthesis. Alright, what do you call the process whenever your cells, they take your nutrients and they combine them with oxygen to make energy? This one's 2 words and this one's longer. So this one's harder. Go. They take the nutrients and combine them with oxygen. Anyone remember? Okay, write it down. So, cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. That's whenever your body takes your nutrients now and they make it into energy that your body can use. So that's cellular respiration. Long word. Alright, what do we call, yes, Jada?
Can you please start writing?
Alright, so write those at the same time. What do you call the chemical that your body uses as energy? So your body takes your nutrients and makes it into this. It was 3 letters. So that should help you out. That it was this 3 letters. This is the chemical that your body uses as energy. Go. I think Scott beat you. What was that? AOT? ATO? No?
ATP.
ATP. So you have hard part of the letters. So ATP. ATP. You'll learn more as you get older what that stands for, but you don't have to know it right now. Adenosine triphosphate if you want to know, but you don't have to know that right now. So just ATP. Alright. So thinking back over, we had practice with this kind of yesterday. So if you were studying cardiology, what does that mean? I put this up there so that way you can have practice with it. You don't have to memorize them, but I just want you to have practice figuring out what the words would mean. So cardiology, what does that mean? Or you could just already know. Go. I think Mama got it, but it was suspicious.
The study of the heart.
Good job. All right, let's say you get a word like autotroph. What does that mean? Autotroph. Try to put it together.
Oh, okay.
Go. Oh, Scott got first. Yep, so it would be the idea of you can make your own food from it. Alright, we'll move on from that though, but just make sure you're still in practice for it. What is the term that means plant life? So don't just say organism. I know organism means all of it, but which one means plant life specifically? Go. Go, Scott. Laura. Which one means animal life specifically? Go. Fauna. Alright, thinking about symmetry. Remember that's the idea of you can have an organism be divided into half or be divided into multiple parts and they all look the same. What type of symmetry is it whenever it's like a circle like a pie or a starfish, you can cut it a bunch of different ways and it'll look the same. We compared it to pizza yesterday. What do you call that type of symmetry where it's more of a circle? Go. Lynn. That's a good guess, but not right.
Radial.
Radial, good job. Radial symmetry, that's whenever it's more of a circle. If you think of it as kind of like a radius, you might have talked about that
Yeah.
in classes with math already with circles. So radial symmetry. What type of symmetry is it whenever you can divide an organism in one plane in half and you can get a right and left halves typically that are the same? This is the type of symmetry that people have, animals have, and some flowers have. Some flowers have this as well. What do you call that type of symmetry? Go. I think it was Jaden and Danielle's next.
Biosymmetry?
Very good guess, but not quite. Good guess, not quite.
Bilateral.
Bilateral. So
Oh,
you
so
can
close.
but bilateral. So think of it as you can get two halves out of it. So bi, like bicycle, so bi means two halves. Bilateral. And then what's the last type of symmetry where it isn't symmetrical? These are like trees and amoebas where their sides don't match up at all. You can't cut them to get the same. What do you call them? This is a little bit funkier. Good. That was Jaden and Neil.
Like astrosymmetry? Like something like that?
Oh!
Astromonosymmetry? I don't know how to say that.
Okay, we'll go over how to pronounce it. Okay, based off of that, I can't give it to you. We'll see if someone else they get closer. But if no one else gets closer, then I'll let you have it.
Astronomical?
Okay, that's for stars. It's a little bit different.
I don't know.
It's okay.
I'll put my hand down.
Okay, anyone else want to guess? Alright, we'll let you have it, Jaden. Alright, asymmetrical. Now, remember, A typically means in front of a word like that, it means not. So it means not symmetrical. It's okay.
Star.
Alright, that's pretty much all the terms we've talked about, so hopefully you have a good list to study, so you'll know, okay, this is what I should be focusing on later. Alright, so who has 5 points or more? Alright, who has 8 points or more? Alright, looks like Scott wins.
How did you get, Scott?
How many did you get that? No, okay. So give me candy because of Corona. I can't let you get around here anymore. So whatever you get is what you get. Don't pitch a fit. Sorry, you're trading with someone later. Alright, so you can go ahead and put that away if you want, or if you want to put notes on it from class as well, you can. You can go ahead and get out your textbook. Oh, before I forget, get out your activity book. Typically we would do this as homework, but then it is Wednesday. We're going to go ahead and get started with it, get a little bit of practice with your activity book and how to use it. Go ahead and open up to that first page. You'll notice it has metabolic mystery on this first page. This is a crossword puzzle. If you've already opened it, you'll notice there's a lot of kind of review activities and different things to help you get your focus for it. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to try to see how far you can get in it, and then we'll check and then we'll check each other's answers and finish it all together. So the question you're answering at the top is, what animal has the fastest metabolism? Anyone think they know already? Just guessing. Remember, what is metabolism first off? Glenn? What? Remember, that's chemical processes of life, so how fast your body breaks down stuff. Alright, so which animal do you think has the fastest metabolism? No, but you'll find out. Alright, maybe, you'll find out. Alright, so your book's pointing out that use the clues to complete the puzzle and answer the following question. That black box down the center has the answer for it. So you have to fill in all the blanks to figure out which animal does. So go ahead, I'll give you about 5 minutes or so to try to get as far as you can. If you don't finish it, it's okay. We'll go through all the answers all together, and then we'll figure out what animal has the fastest metabolism. You need to look in your book because you can't figure out an answer. You can. Most of these I covered in the review before class. And most of these, we should think, ooh, we already talked about this. But if you're looking at some of them going, I don't remember if she said this or not, you can look it up in your book and try to figure out the answer. You look confused, Lana, what's wrong?
I never, like, the thing I got it was for number 3, it won't fit in there.
Alright, what do you think it is?
Organism.
Alright, they just made, for that one, they just made it plural, so add an S on the end, you'll fit.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
already crossed it out.
I'm sorry, just write it in slightly smaller underneath it.
That's what I was confused.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why they did that either. I guess since they said living things, I guess it should be plural, I guess technically. Organisms, living things. One more minute. If you're not done, it's okay. We'll go over all the answers together. Try to see how far you can get.
I don't know, like, the rest of them.
I'll see. Some of them we reviewed in class. So, the stable internal environment maintained by living things. What do you call it whenever your body has to have the same temperature, the same, like, oxygen on the inside? Did you write it down on your piece of paper earlier?
I found out what it was by just the words that I were getting.
Cheater. We'll go over all the terms. But yes, you are right.
Yeah, I think I figured it out already. Like, I think I know what it is.
Okay, we'll go over it in a second. But we'll go over all the terms. Keep in mind, you want to solve it, not just figure out what animal has the fastest metabolism.
Like, we're allowed to look at our answers from that.
Yeah, you can look at the answers. If I say you can use your book, you can use your little answer key from the review game as well. Yes, Judy.
That little thing that's trying to, like, poke the skeleton is not freaking me out.
Oh, but trying to look up. I used to keep them behind a projector last year because it was less slightly freaky, but my projector's gone, so he has to just be friends.
Like that whenever he has started.
So now they're just friends. They're ignoring coronavirus right now. Yes.
Why is he missing an eye?
I don't know. It was gone whenever I got here. So I guess it's been gone for a while. Alright, let's go ahead and let's go over the answers. Now we'll talk about which animal has the fastest metabolism in a second. I want to go over the actual term answers first. Now normally if you wouldn't finish in class, you'd have to do it for homework. But since we're going over it now all together, you don't have to worry about it. So what do you call the stable internal condition maintained by living cells? What is that called? Hayden?
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis. So again, spelling might throw you off a little bit in this section just because you have to spell it right. So if you didn't spell it earlier correctly, you might be thrown off a little bit now. But homeostasis. Alright, what do you call the substances in food that provide organisms with energy? Danielle? Nutrients. Alright, what do you call the term that refers to living things? Lana, you asked me about this one.
Organism.
Organisms. Number 4, everything surrounding an organism being studied. This was more from your reading last night, so hopefully you paid attention during your homework whenever you reviewed over it. I also referenced it the other day as well. Alright, Lana?
Environment.
Environment. The sum of all chemical processes of life. We talked about this one earlier. Glenn? Metabolism. Animal life. Just that general term. Edie?
Fauna.
Fauna. Number 7, another word for eating. We talked about this one earlier. Danielle again. Ingesting. The type of symmetry in which an organism can only be cut into one way to create a right and left paths. Scott? Bilateral. And then the process by which cells produce ATP by combining nutrients with oxygen. Hopefully everyone wrote this one down earlier. You'll notice there's a space. Oh wait, this one is 2 words. Edie?
Cellular respiration.
Cellular respiration. And then number 11, the process by which life continues through the generation of new organisms. We didn't I skipped number 9, didn't I? Number 9, the transmission of characteristics from parent to offspring first. This is why you may look like one parent, or the other parent, or both parents, or sometimes none. You might look like your grandparents instead. I didn't talk about this term specifically in the review, but you should still know it.
Heredity.
Heredity, good job. And then number 11, what is the process by which life continues what is the process by which life continues through the generation of new organisms? Scott? Reproduction. So those two, heredity and reproduction, are the only two I kind of skipped over in the review, but you should be ready for it and keep focusing on all the others. Alright, so Scott, you finished first. So what animal has the fastest metabolism? Hummingbird. So that one has the fastest metabolism. That's why hummingbirds, you have to drink basically sugar water, particularly now, because anyone know where the hummingbirds are going in a couple of months? South. They're going to go across the Gulf of Mexico to typically South America. That's why they're drinking. You might see them out more now with them drinking. Maybe your hummingbird feeders are out drinking nectar. That's the reason why they're building up their energy. Okay.
Bilateral won't fit.
I lost my spot for it. So it's number 8. It's Bilateral.
Oh, I thought it was bilateral.
Oh no, remember like bicycle, so 2. Okay.
What's number 5?
Number 5, metabolism. So it is a mouthful.
I didn't hear what number 9 was.
Number 9 is heredity. That's one. If you didn't finish it, it's okay. It's just to help you, just to kind of focus in that. And since this is the first one, I wanted to do it all together with us. Alright, now you can put that away and get out your textbook. Alright, we're talking about on page 8 now, environment or area surrounding an organism. So we've been talking about living organisms, flora and fauna, but now we're getting into talking about the environment. I loosely talked to and introduced the term environment a couple of days ago, but do make a note of what environment is. Environment is everything surrounding the organism being studied. So what would be your environment like at your house, Glenn? Okay, yeah, that could be like the environment. What is the area surrounding your house? Where do you live? Okay, so you have trees around your house. Anything else? Animals? Do you know what type of animals? You must live way out then if you have deer and woods somewhere. Do you live in like Catala or Box Springs area? Where do you live? Where? Oh, okay. Alright, where is he? What about you doing?
My backyard is like, I have a porch and then just like drop off the woods. And then my front yard is like a giant yard. It used to be covered with trees, but if you look out like there's like a road that goes like this.
Okay, so you have the wraparound basically, the curve for it. Alright.
No, not really. We're not on a cul-de-sac. It's just the way that the road goes. It goes up the hill and then goes back down another hill, and it goes up a big hill this way, and then our driveway goes this, like into the house.
Okay, I see what you're talking about now. Alright, what about you?
My backyard is just a fence with grass, but like we go to our grandparents, like they live right next door to us, and their backyard is like they have no fence. It's just they have a big tree, and it's just
They have one tree?
what?
They have one tree?
No, it's big.
Oh, okay.
It's like
in like their front backyard, but then they have a little bridge and then it leads to the rest across the creek.
That sounds cute. Alright, how many of you live in a neighborhood?
Oh wait,
That's what I was gonna say, when I went to my house as a neighbor.
I would say, cause some of you probably live in like more of like a neighborhood where you have a bunch of houses around you, maybe not a whole lot of woods. You might have some trees, but maybe not. And then how many of you live out, you say, no, we live in the woods. We live way
I'm like
out.
both.
I live in the woods,
Yeah,
so we're way out there. Alright, so that's the idea of the environment. The area is everything surrounding the organism being studied. Now, animals, they don't live in houses, so they live in their houses. Their homes are a little bit different. Anyone know what do you call the home of an organism? Probably learned this way back in elementary. You know? Habitat. So that's where these terms are coming from. So the environment is everything surrounding the organism, where it lives, while the habitat is its individual home. That's where it lives. Like for a bird, where is its home probably located?
In a tree.
In a tree. So if it's a fox, does anyone know where a fox lives? Right? Okay, a burrow is what you're thinking. Typically, they live in like a hole in the ground, so that's where they typically live. So if you were to see a deer, where does a deer typically live? All right. Okay, so yes, they can live in their home in the woods. Typically, they'll like to hide more in the woods. Now they do come out in the meadows area, but they like to hide in the woods just because they know hunters and other animals can come get them. So these all type of environments we're talking about so far, all of these are on land. So do make a note of that. A land environment is called terrestrial. So make a note of that. Environments on land, like meadows, these are terrestrial. Now what would be another example besides a meadow of a land environment? So there's other things besides just meadows. Anyone wants to think of any more?
A plane?
Yeah, so if you have a flat area, do you know what type of animals live on a plane?
Nope.
Okay, so if you're going to go out into the grassland of North America, what are some animals like on the prairie you would see?
Deer.
You can, some of them. Not a whole lot, but yes.
Rabbits.
Rabbits, quail, bison. Let's say you're going to the African savannah, which is a type of plain. What animals do you see out there? Oh, you're still thinking of I'm just thinking of North American savanna. So we have the groundhogs more. Meerkats is what you're thinking of for Africa. So that's more of the African ones. All right. Anything else? If you're going to an African savanna.
A snake.
Okay. Yeah, they do. All right, Evie. Lions. They have cheetahs, they have hyenas, so anything basically from the Lion King, if you want to think of that. What about, what about a mountain environment? Because that's still on land. What are some mountain animals? Yeah. Yeah, so mountain lion, another name for it is a puma, or another name for it is a cougar. Those are all names for the same type of animal. Alright, Hayden?
Goats, mountain goats, or
Yep,
whatever
you have
they're
mountain
called.
goats. Alright. Yep, you have coyotes in some sections as well. So all of those are types of terrestrial environments. They're all on land. So all of those are terrestrial. So just making note, terrestrial just refers to a land environment. Habitat refers to the organism's home. Your book points out that even if you think that I live in a neighborhood and there's no life there. Well, even underneath the ground, there's a lot of animals that they typically just stay hidden. You don't have to note the diagram in your book. You don't have to memorize, like, what is what underneath the ground. But just pointing out, even if you have just a regular, and you would think, boring backyard, no, you still have life deep under the ground. You can have mushrooms, you can have grass, ladybugs, dandelions. It's a little bit late for dandelions now, but they're still out in some cases for it. You could have snakes in the ground, you could have grubs or worms in the ground. In some cases, you might have smaller animals burrow. Like your book has a picture of a chipmunk, but you could have other types of smaller animals like a mole or a shrew underneath the ground as well. Ants, a lot of cases. Now some of these animals, they're going to start slowing down or going dormant for the winter. But your books just point out that there's a lot of animals, even in a small area underneath the ground, that we don't even really notice or even really look at just because they're under the ground. And unless you have a shovel and go dig them up, you probably don't even know that they're there. So like I was saying, you don't have to know or memorize the different animals underneath the ground. It's just pointing out that even in a small area like the dirt, it can still have animals living there. Alright, I saw someone's hand a minute ago. Does someone have a question about it? Alright, just making sure for it. So, do you mark that italicized sentence above it though, that the ground beneath your backyard is teeming teeming with life, even though you don't normally think about it or even notice it. Alright, so let's look at the snail tracking, the Nature Explorer on the next page. This is a little box, we're gonna give someone else a chance to read it. Who wants to read? There's also more reading today. Alright, Jaden.
Snails often return to the same place every night. Try placing a flower pot on its side in your yard. Several days later, go out during the day, count all the snails on the flower pot, and mark them with a dab of nail polish while wearing gloves. Count and record the number of snails that return to the flower pot each day. Try moving the pot or placing other nearby and record your observations.
Now, keep in mind, when it says put a dab of nail polish on, it doesn't mean like coat them in it. It means do like one little dot, just so that way you can mark them. The nail polish won't hurt the snail, so as long as you're careful, just stick it just on their shell, they'll be fine. But if you like coat them in it, yeah, that's not good. Yeah, it's not good for them. So make sure, Danielle, you're raising your hand. You question or comment. So raise your hand. Okay, now you say. Or not. Alright, so whenever you're doing this, just be careful for it because they are a living organism, so you want to be very careful if you're going to do it for it. So this is to help you just see how many snails you might have. Now like you might think, okay, I only have 5 snails. That's probably the reason why they want you to mark them so you can see how many snails you actually have. You probably have way more than you think in your backyard. You just don't really see them, and snails look kind of similar. You don't have to do this. This is a fun kind of little experiment you can try if you're curious to see. I wonder how many snails I do have in this area of my backyard. Alright, so your book starts talking about seasons of change as well. Whenever you have different seasons or different seasons of the year, you have different animals and they respond differently. Does anyone know what the 4 seasons are already? Okay, good, most of you. Alright, Glenn.
Summer, spring, fall, winter.
Good job. So, I just have a tree just to help show it, but animals, they do different things at different points in the year. So, a tree is kind of like an obvious example for it, but animals, they do different things depending on what season it is. Most animals, they have babies or they reproduce in the spring and summer because a lot of the trees go dormant, and some animals, they go into hibernation. They have to have their babies early on in the year before winter hits, whenever the animals go into hibernation, or there's a lot less food because the trees and plants are under snow or the trees aren't making leaves right then. So that's how come typically most animals, they have their babies or they reproduce in the spring and early summer. Some of them do it a little bit later, like cardinals. They have their babies and they lay their eggs typically in August. So they're doing their reproduction cycles typically now. So it's just a little bit different. It just depends on when they occur. So your book's pointing out that for some of these animals, they like to live at certain points of the day more so than others for it. So your book introduces the term diurnal. Make a note for that one. This means that you are mainly active during the day. Well, nocturnal means you're mainly active at night. So thinking about it, are human beings, are we diurnal or nocturnal? Evie? Diurnal. We're mainly active during the day. That's the reason why once the sun sets, your brain knows it's time to go to sleep. Most of the time you naturally get tired, typically towards night. Now if you're on your cell phone or playing video games or on your computer or watching TV, the light kind of tricks your eyes and tells your eyes and your brain, stay awake. And that's how come your parents might tell you can't watch TV or you can't have your cell phone super late at night, because your parents know we need to go to bed. And so they're trying to tell you, go to sleep. So that's probably the reason why. Now, keep in mind, think about people way up north, like in Alaska. Because they're so high on the world, the sunlight up there is a little bit different. So if you were to look at the globe, I'm going to grab my globe really quick, you'll know that our Earth is tilted. You've already talked about this in history and elementary classes. So we live over here in North America. The Alaskan people that live in Alaska, they're way up at the top of the world. Because of that, as the Earth moves around the sun and as the Earth spins, depending on what season it is, in summer or winter, in some cases, the Earth is constantly pointed towards the sun. And so because of that, Alaska gets a lot of sunlight in the summer, and the sun doesn't hardly set. The sun only sets in Alaska for a couple of hours at night, around 1 or 2, 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning, and then the sun's back up again. But it's more like a twilight. in the wintertime, because the earth faces away from the sun at that point, they don't get a lot of sunlight. They get mainly dark all the time. So that's how come they have special curtains in Alaska to help block out all the sunlight in the summer, so that way they can still fall asleep, because they have, in a lot of cases, in some cases, some problems sleeping at night because it's still light outside, and their body has to adjust to figure out, oh, I should be sleeping now. Now they'll still get tired, you can't stay awake forever, but they have to kind of have special things to help them and help tell their body, it's time to go to sleep. I know it's still light outside, but I need to go to sleep. They also put up a lot of lights in the wintertime because it's so dark. They have to have a lot of like street lamps and other things up, so that way they can still see, because it's dark a lot of times in Alaska. So in the wintertime, if you go to Alaska, you can see the northern lights, but that's about it. It's going to be dark for most of the day. Well, if you go to Alaska in the summer, it's mainly light most of the day. Even at 9, 10 o'clock at night, it's still light outside, which is just kind of different and kind of weird, but kind of cool at the same time. Alright, so do make a note of diurnal and nocturnal. Your book points out as well that these different seasons, that these are whenever you're having the animals, they're going through their life process, the trees are going through their life process. Your book also points out in some cases they go into a state of dormancy. So mark that on the next page, because that's where they said it. So dormancy or dormant, that's whenever you have an animal that goes to sleep for a long time. So you should have marked diurnal, you should have marked nocturnal. Nocturnal animals, these animals, like how Glenn mentioned earlier, they typically have kind of some special abilities with their eyes to where they can see better at night. How many of you know what this type of animal is? Alright, Glenn. It's a raccoon. How many of you have seen a raccoon before? Okay, a couple of you. How many of you the raccoon was getting in your trash can, and that's why you saw him? Yeah, that has a tendency to happen. Is it a quick story, Jaden?
Yeah.
Okay, quick.
My aunt and uncle, they used to have a pet raccoon, and
Oh, cool.
it would wash its hands, and they're cool.
Raccoons, they have a habit where that's something that raccoons do. They like to wash their food in water before they eat it. Now, they have to be careful because some food doesn't go well in water. But that's how come that's just what raccoons like to do. They like to wash their food in water before they eat it. That's just what they like to do. Some animals, like cats, don't care, and they'll just eat it however it is. But some animals, like raccoons, they have some different eating habits. Now, if you go to the zoo to see a raccoon, typically it looks like this, because you'll be at the zoo during the day, and since raccoons are nocturnal, they're asleep, and so typically they're not doing a whole lot. Sometimes they might be awake if it's around their feeding time. They might be up and about, but some animals, most of them that are nocturnal, if you go to the zoo to go see them, that they'll be asleep at that point for it. So, just make a note though that that's probably the reason why, if you go to the zoo, some of the animals, they're asleep while some of them are still active. Like lions, they sleep for a long time. Anyone know how long generally lions sleep?
20 hours?
Yep, it's about 20 hours. So, if the lion's actually awake, be excited, because most of the time lions, they sleep most of the time for it. Just make a note. So, diurnal, those are animals that are more awake during the day, and they're up and about during the day. Deep breath, Jaden. Okay. Nocturnal, these are animals that are mainly awake at night. So if you're thinking of birds, owls are awake at night more. That's probably the reason why they have such large eyes and they're designed to hunt at night. Bats typically hunt at night. Does anyone know how bats hunt? What special ability they have? Now, your book doesn't talk about it yet, but you might know from elementary classes. Right? Not quite. No, bats can actually see pretty well in the dark. A lot of people think that bats are blind. Technically, no. They can still see. They just have something else to allow them to hunt. Echolocation. Basically, they go around screaming and they listen to the echoes bouncing back to tell them where the different insects are. So some animals have different abilities to help them at night. So just so you know, dormant, this is an inactive stasis. Like most of your trees, if you were going to look at the previous slide, and with your trees, some of them, they go dormant or they go to sleep kind of in the winter time. Not all trees do this. Does anyone know what type of trees stay awake or they still carry on metabolism year round? Evie? Evergreens. This is one reason why your Christmas trees are the firs or the conifers. That's the reason why, is because they stay awake or active all year. Some animals, they don't. Like bears, they go into a state of dormancy in the winter. They have a high metabolism, and so because of that, God designed them to go to sleep because there's not a lot of food for them in the winter time. Also, when you have animals, they go to sleep typically in the winter because there's not a whole lot of food for them. So bears go to sleep, some other animals go to sleep as well to help them survive the winter. So hibernation is a type of dormancy. It's a little bit different, but it is an example for it. So dormant is an inactive state. This helps them to conserve stored energy. So some trees do it. A lot of your not the evergreen, the broadleaf trees do it, and some of your animals like bears, they also do it as well. Alright, let's look at making a nature observation kit. You don't have to do this, but this is a good idea to see if you want to go out and explore nature, like we were talking about yesterday. Here's some things you can take with you to help you learn and see a lot of different things and be prepared just in case sometimes bad things happen. Alright, who wants to read first? I've already read Jason, but I appreciate it. Anybody else want to read? Now I'm going to start calling people. Scott. Read quick, because I only have 4 minutes.
To help explore the natural world, you may want to prepare a nature observation kit. Most of your supplies should fit in a small bag or backpack. The most important item in your kit is a notebook for recording your observation. Spiral bound notebooks are usually easier to use. A notebook should be small enough to easily carry, but large enough to detail descriptions and sketches or photographs.
Your job, so don't bring a super large one because remember you're carrying it on your back and you don't want it super heavy. Alright, who wants to read next? Who hasn't had a turn yet? Still appreciate it, Jaden. Danielle. You're next.
For recording your observations, you should bring either a pen or pencil and eraser. For sketches, you may want to include coloring. Camera can record colors and details that are hard to include in a sketch. Your kit should also include pocket-sized field guides which let you easily identify unfamiliar organisms. Although not essential, a hand lens magnifying glass also allows you to observe one-minute detail, and binoculars can help you observe animals from a distance.
Why do you probably want to bring binoculars with you? Alright, Jaden.
For different birds.
Because most animals will hear you before you see them. Like most deer are aware that you're there before you get close enough. So if you bring binoculars, you might can find them and see them from a distance before they have a chance to smell you or hear you. Birds as well. Birds have a tendency to not really like being around humans, and if they hear you, they're going to fly away. So bring binoculars with you. Alright, who wants to read next? Who hasn't had a turn yet? Still appreciate it. Come on.
In your kit, you should include insect repellent. Your observations will be much more enjoyable if you protect yourself from pests, especially when sitting still while sketching or waiting for animals to appear. On longer excursions, you should also include water and trail snacks. Water is a must, even if it is not very hot outside. In unfamiliar areas, take a map and compass. If possible, take a cell phone for emergencies, but keep the phone silent to avoid scaring nearby things.
You want to make sure you're safe outside and nature is always welcome. You always want to bring water, just in case. A trail snack like a granola bar, just in case. And cell phone, just in case something really bad happens. So always bring that stuff with you. Alright, last paragraph. Who wants to read it? Alright, Jay.
Modify your nature kit as necessary for the environment you are visiting. For example, if you visit a stream or pond, you will probably want waders or rubber boots. Before walking or observing away from home, be sure for a parent's permission. Never go alone into the woods or another natural environment. Try to go with a friend who also enjoys observing.
Why should you never just decide you're going to just go off into nature by yourself?
I guess you get bit by a snake or something happens.
Yes, you will always want to get your parents' permission and let them know, hey, I'm going to go for a walk. And they'll probably say, okay, it's fine. Or they might tell you, take a cell phone or take a flashlight. Don't just decide, I'm going to go wandering. No, something's bad happen. You could fall, you could hurt yourself, you could get bit by something. Always, always, always let your parents know where you're going. All right, Lon, do you have anything else to add? All right, yes.
Did somebody shoot that deer?
For, like in the previous picture? No, I think it was from a nature reserve, so I think it should be safe for it. I know. Sometimes, I know for hunters, you want to get those big bucks in a lot of cases. Alright, my time's just about up, so don't leave yet. So I'll ask you some review questions because we're a little bit early. Alright, think it back over. What do you call an animal that's active during the day